Well, hello, Facebook friends, and welcome to Nuggets at Noon on the East Coast and Nuggets at 9 on the West Coast. We are so glad you've joined us today. And today I want to talk to you about seeing the Lord. Well, you know, we just passed the Easter holiday and the Easter celebration of the resurrection of the Lord. And we find that Jesus first appeared after he was resurrected to a woman named Mary Magdalene. And over in John chapter number 20, verse number 18, it says this: Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and that he had said these things to her. And that's the previous statements there in that passage. But she had seen the Lord. I would imagine what these disciples must have thought the last time they had seen him. He was hanging on a cross and dead. And now she comes back and says, "I have seen the Lord." You know, I imagine there was a lot of confusion amongst them. But then when you read on down a few verses, it says in verse number 20, Jesus had appeared to them, and when he had appeared in the room or in the house where they were at, and it says, that's in verse 19. In verse 20, it says, when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were glad when they saw the Lord. They were glad. You see, when you see the Lord, you're glad. You're excited. I'm sure Mary Magdalene, she came in all that morning, and she said, "Hey guys, guess what? I just saw Jesus." And you know, oh, come on. You're just dreaming. You're just wishful thinking. But when the disciples saw the Lord, it said they were glad. I'm reminding back over in Isaiah chapter number 6, verse number 1. It says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon the throne, high and lifted up." And then we jump on down to verse number 8. "And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' Then I said, 'Here am I, send me.'" You see what happened here when Isaiah saw the Lord and his glory and his might, then he was willing to do whatever God called him to do. "Who will go for me?" Isaiah says, "I'll go. I'll go." You know why? Because he had an encounter with the Lord. He saw Jesus. And you know, my friends, when you and I get a glimpse of who Jesus really is, and we get a glimpse of his power and his majesty and his suffering and his sacrifice for you and I, we will be willing to do anything, go anywhere, say whatever he asks us to say. We will be his spokesman. We will be his hand extended. When we see him, you say, "Well, how can I see him?" Well, first of all, you have to look for him. You have to look. My sisters on occasions will send pictures, and they'll have under the caption, "I spy." And what they're saying is that you need to look for something there that I see, but you can't see. And sometimes it might be a deer in the background. It could be a squirrel in the background. It could be a duck in the background, and you're looking all around in the picture, and you look up here, and you look over there, and you're looking around, and you finally spot it. But you have to look to find what they have spied. But that's similar to what it is when looking for the Lord. We have to look. We have to be attentive. He is there. He's with us. One of the main places we find of the Lord and where we can find his works and his power is in his word. We find it. We have to read. We have to see what he does and his character. You see, God is real. He's real. It's like the wind. You know, sometimes we don't see the wind. In fact, we can't see the wind, but we see the results of wind. We see the trees swaying, and we see the leaves blowing, and we see the results of that wind. It's the same thing with God. It's the same thing with Jesus, his son. We can't see him, but we see his results. We see what he does. And my friends, if we will just be looking, if we will just desire to look, if we'll be seeking him. You see, he said, if you ask, if you seek, and if you knock. If you ask, you'll receive. If you seek, you will find. If you knock, it will be open. And so I encourage you today, whatever you're going through. In fact, we live in such a chaotic world and chaotic society, but I can tell you, in the midst of it all, we can see Jesus. And I encourage you to open your eyes and see him today. Just as Mary, just as the disciples, They were glad when they saw him. Isaiah, I'll go when he saw him, and he will do the same for you and I. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.